Okay, we're back. Let's see. Gotta get back into it. Boy, this. I wonder how high level this Dragonair is. I haven't even been paying attention. Level 45. All right. Moving right along. Okay. So where was I? Okay. So Satan, he used to be like the highest angel, and then he went from being the highest to being the lowest of demons. Like, here's what demons are. They're fallen angels. That's what they are, and they're the most evil entities in all of creation because they're constantly at war with God. So Satan is the head of all the demons. Anyway, so that's why Satan, anyway, he tries to corrupt Adam and Eve, and here's what he says. He says, "Did God really say that you're not allowed to eat from that tree?" And Eve says, and Adam's with her, by the way. I mean, if you look in the Bible, the wording is, um, it, Adam and Eve are together at the time. So Eve tells the serpent, who is Satan, we may eat of any tree in the garden, but God said that if we eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, then we will surely die. So here's what Satan says. He lies to Eve and says, "You will not surely die, because God knows that when you do eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, your eyes will be open and you'll be able to see." So um, he tempts Eve by saying, "Oh, you could be like God, and you'll have knowledge just like God." And I better heal up because I'm not looking good right now. Come on, let's wreck its face. There we go. Good. Okay, heal it up. All right. Let's see. So Eve looks at the fruit, and it does look pretty good. So she takes one, and um, she and Adam both take a bite out of the fruit, and immediately. And by the way, about the fruit. People claim that it's an apple tree, and then the forbidden fruit was an apple or something. Uh, the Bible does not specify what fruit it is, and it really doesn't matter. I mean, the point is, there was fruit on the tree. They weren't supposed to eat it. They ate it, and their eyes were opened, and then they realized. By the way, they were naked. They weren't wearing clothing at the time. But the moment they sinned, they realized that they were exposed. Funny that the double meaning there. They were naked. So what they did, they went to cover themselves. So then God immediately finds out because he's God, he's omnipotent. So he goes up and he says, "Well, who told you you were naked?" Whenever he goes up to Adam, because Adam and Eve have both covered themselves up because they've realized they were naked. And he already knows the answer to this. He's like, "Well, did you eat of the tree that I told you not to eat from?" And here's what Adam and Eve do. They like play the "it wasn't my fault" game, and they point to Satan the serpent and said, "Well, I ate because he told me." And so God turns on Satan, and he punishes Satan first. He makes a condemnation for all of them, but he starts with Satan. He says, "Because you have done this, because you've tempted my creation, Adam and Eve, um, you are cursed to always crawl on your belly for all of your days, and you'll eat of the dust." And now here's the first prophecy of Jesus that you guys need to know of, because Jesus is prophesied all the way back in Genesis. Satan says, "I will put enmity between your seed and the seed of the woman." That basically means your descendants and the descendants of man. That you'll be enemies. Demons will be enemies with humans. And here's what he says: "You will strike his heel, but he will crush your head." So Satan is going to hurt the descendant of Eve a little bit, but this descendant is going to utterly crush him. And that's what Jesus did. I mean, this is a perfect allegory to Jesus because, yeah, Satan kind of forced Jesus because Satan managed to get Adam and Eve to sin. What happened was um, sin entered the world uh, after Satan convinced Adam and Eve to do evil against God by disobeying him. So Jesus had to come later and die for the sins, and I'll tell you why the death was necessary in just a little bit. But boy, you can find like pretty much most of the Bible message is right there in the very first book of Genesis, like in the first couple of chapters. Like God makes the heavens and the earth, and he makes people perfect. In the beginning, everything is perfect. Everything is as it should be. Perfect harmony. But then what happens is sin enters the world, and there's no more perfection. So, and God can't be where sin is. I gotta, we have to make that clear. Let's say, like, you go into a closet and you shut the door behind you. It's completely dark in the closet. But then what happens, you turn the light bulb on overhead, and all of a sudden light floods the closet, and immediately the darkness flees from the light. There can't be any darkness near the light bulb. That's how it is with sin. Like, God is completely holy, and because of that, darkness can't be anywhere near the light of his holiness. So I guess that's the best way I can, show the whole sin and God thing. God can't be where sin is. There's a separation. And what God does, okay, so anyway, so he's cursed the serpent, but now he turns and he curses Adam also. He says, because you have done what the serpent says, cursed is the ground beneath your feet. You will toil in it all the days of your life, and you will return to the dust from which you were made. Because God first creates Adam from the dust of the earth, and then he breathes life into him. And so, sure enough, Adam and Eve, they do eventually die. But by the way, I gotta say, here's the curse on Eve. So God curses Eve now, and he says, because you have, let's see, because, I mean, Eve also ate from the fruit, so God says, because you've done this, you, I will greatly increase the pains of your childbirth. With great sorrow, you will bring children into the world. So I find it, let's see, I wonder what would have happened if they would have never sinned, childbearing, how it would be any less painful. I guess, you know, when it was time for the delivery, the skin stretching around the birth canal, I guess the stretching would have been painless otherwise. Like, um, I, the stretching of a rubber band, well, whatever. It probably would have been painless, but because they sinned, the childbirth would be painful. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so those were the curses that God puts down. So what happens, and he doesn't take down Adam and Eve immediately. Like, notice how he says, you will surely die, but then they don't die immediately. God allows them to live for a while longer. They do die eventually, but they live for, a bit longer, and they definitely live long enough to pass down descendants. So Adam and Eve, boy, I don't think I'm going to get done. I'm going to have to move on to the next recording and finish it off then, because I know I'm not going to finish off the whole Bible recording, the whole gospel recording in this one. But I mean, I'm providing entertaining speaking, right? I mean, this is just going by rapidly. Let's see, Dragonair level. Okay. Um. Okay, so Adam and Eve, God, he drives them out of the garden because the tree of life, it's still in the garden. It never left that garden. And what's going to happen with the tree of life being there? What if Adam and Eve should continue eating from the tree of life? They'll live forever. And if they live forever in sin, here's the thing. God is an eternal being, and before Adam and Eve sinned, they would have lived forever. Like, God says, you will surely die if you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Like, if you sin, you will die. Well, what that implies is, if they don't do it, then there wouldn't have been death. I guess that's arguable, but as long as the tree of life is in the garden, and as long as they're eating from the tree of life, they live forever. But, I mean, can you imagine living with somebody forever and having this enmity of sin between you? Like waking up day after day, having this constant thorn in your side for all of eternity? Like, I can spend eternity with somebody if every day is going to be an absolute perfect day and there's not going to be anything between us, but all eternity with like this problem, you know, that's hell. That's just awful. So anyway, so I'm out of recording time, but when I get back, I'll explain the other part of the gospel. So until then, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you dudes later.